The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Up to Speed with Tripp Simpson. I am your host, Tripp Simpson, in the building.
The first of his name, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm.
That's right, that's right. Before we get this show started today, first and foremost, you know we gotta handle business.
I know you're gonna look after family.
What family you talking about, Ice?
Fuck, I look invisible, nigga.
That's right, that's right. I am not invisible, so do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell, and select all. Now, we have breaking news. Jada Pinkett Smith is telling the entire world her and her husband Will Smith's business again.
Oh no, there's a man down.
So apparently she's coming out with a new tell-all book about her marriage with Will, and here recently she's been hitting all the major publications. The biggest part of her tell-all tour so far has been that her and her husband Will Smith have been separated for the past 7 years. That's right. Fellas, this is what you get when you work hard your entire life and you try to bring the woman that you love along with you. She becomes unhappy for her own selfish reasons and treats you like a nobody, even though if it wasn't for you, she'd be a nobody. Jada is a B-list actress at best. I mean, think about it. Will Smith, even after being banned from the Academy Awards, is still filming major big budget films. While Jada hasn't started anything since Girls Trip, she's now so desperate for relevance that she has to further embarrass her family by coming out with a tell-all book that nobody asked for. Let's get to the videotape.
8:14 with Carson and Hoda's exclusive interview with Jada Pinkett Smith, and everyone's going to be talking about this.
Yeah, she is one half of Hollywood's most powerful couple. She's at the...
All right, before we get too far into this video, I want to first say that we are watching this video under fair use. That's right, fair use.
Center of constant gossip and controversy, including that slap at the Oscars. She was sitting right next to Will Smith. And when we met up with Jada in her hometown of Baltimore to talk about her candid new memoir, Worthy, she opened up about an issue that has been kept secret until now.
There are so many surprising things in the book, but the thing that surprised me the most, that I actually had to reread it because I said, is this true?
Right.
Was that in 2016, you and Will decided that you were going to live completely separate lives.
Yes.
It was not a divorce on paper,
right,
but it was a divorce. So from the year 2016, which is 7 years ago now,
Yes.
y'all have been apart.
Yeah.
But
I mean, nothing shocks me with this woman, man. Like, to me, I don't understand how someone who calls herself a mom and a wife, someone who calls herself a family person, would take so much joy out of putting all of her personal business out there, especially when no one asked her. No one asked her. Ever since she started coming out with that Red Table Talk, we found out more about Jada Pinkett Smith than we ever really wanted to know.
Grandmother taught me about self-pleasuring because she wanted me to know that that pleasure was from me.
Exactly.
She didn't want me to fall into the hands of a man, and if he gave me pleasure, to think that that was him.
And I think that attention that she's been getting from that show, maybe she's addicted to it at this point. Obviously, she has nothing else to do. She's not working on any major films. So putting her and her family's business out there is probably the only thing that she's got going on at this point.
In public, the couple who married in 1997 denied the gossip about their marriage. This interview on Bravo's Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen was taped a year after Will and Jada separated.
So how long have you guys been together?
23 years.
Wow. That's amazing. How do you keep it hot?
How do I keep it hot? Maybe I don't know.
This coming from a woman who admittedly says she's addicted to sex. Most women I know who are overly promiscuous and who love sex a lot know how to keep it hot. Fellas, this is what you get. This is what you get when you marry one of these chicks.
I mean, I'm baffled, really.
Yeah, right.
Over the next several years, Jada and Will kept up the appearance of a committed married couple. They even faced a scandal when Jada had what she called an entanglement with a family friend. Neither let the public know they had already split.
So I guess my question is, I feel like you're a straight talker.
I am.
Except you're not sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Great point by the interviewer. I think her name is Hoda. One thing that I find interesting, I think that this is total BS. I don't think her and Will were separated all that time. I think this is just a ploy to try to make her look good after all the shit she's put him through. You know, she's already been caught red-handed saying that she was in an affair, and it really made her, in most reasonable people's eyes, it didn't put a very good light on her. So I think this is their attempt, or her attempt, to try to make herself look more justified for screwing her son's best friend at the time.
why do that? Like, what was the reason?
I think just not being ready yet. Still trying to figure out between the two of us how to be in partnership, right? And in regards to how do we present that to people, you know? And we hadn't figured that out.
During our walk in Baltimore, Jada reflected on their breakup.
Why did the relationship fracture?
Oh, why it fractured, that's a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think by the time we got...
Pay attention, Baltimore. Another tip for you guys, fellas. Never marry a hood rat, especially one from Baltimore.
To 2016, we were just exhausted with trying. I think we were both kind of still stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be.
Jada says she considered a legal divorce, but could never go through with it.
I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. And I just haven't been able to break that promise.
But you still live separately.
We live separately.
I have so many questions.
So do I.
I have so many
It
questions.
was the strangest kind of revelation to realize that these two people have had separate lives. I mean, they had not called each other husband and wife in all of those years.
Except for the appearance everywhere they went.
Except for the appearances, right? Including at the Oscars.
Yes.
By the way, there's a whole chunk in this book that we're going to get into in the Dateline special and also a little later here of what happened in that moment when he said, you know, get my wife's name out of your mouth, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole backstory there too. But Jada is candid and honest in this book. I mean, she's saying things that she's never said, so they've kind of been living this pretend life publicly.
For years.
They knew the secret. They know it.
So now she's telling everyone. Yeah. But they're not divorced. Nope. So they're
And they
separated.
don't plan on it. They don't plan on getting divorced.
I think a lot of American families can relate, though. I think there's a lot more distance between husbands and wives than anybody ever really talks about.
Yeah.
But this sounds like something.
Yeah, that's a bigger gulf.
Yeah, it's a bigger delta.
We have a lot more on this conversation. I was fascinated by her, by the way. First time I'd sat down and spoke with her for a long period of time.
Oh, I
We read the book. We have
I read
the
the
book
book
here.
from
All right, so that's pretty much that's pretty much it for this interview. There is a full interview coming out on Friday on Dateline. So when the full interview comes out, we will most likely be doing a live stream on it. So please be on the lookout for that. Now, in addition to her interview at the Today Show, she also did an interview with People Magazine where she claims comedian Chris Rock asked her out. Let's check that out. All right, here we go. Jada Pinkett Smith says Chris Rock asked her out on a date amid rumors she and Will were divorcing. I talk about this in the book. I think that there might be some misunderstanding between Chris and I as far as the 2016 Oscars. I think that he might have taken offense, which I meant no harm in offending. That wasn't my intention, But I do think that there's a big misunderstanding there, says Jada52. Back in 2016, when Will was overlooked for his concussion performance and the acting nominations recognized no actors of color, Jada was vocally in support of the hashtag Oscars So White movement, calling for a boycott of the award show. Chris, who was hosting that year, made jokes about Jada in his monologue and in his Netflix comedy special earlier this year. Chris claimed that Jada told him he should quit the hosting gig out of solidarity. Jada admits to not really recognizing the level of pressure Chris might have been under at the time. I probably should have called him and gone, hey, are you okay? And just know that although I'm speaking out the Oscars, I do wish you the best, and I just want you to know that. Me taking the time to have called him and said that just to touch base, but his feelings might have been hurt. But, Jada adds, all we can do is look at our part and see where could I have done something that would have seemed as if whatever misunderstanding might have been created. What could I have done to avoid that misunderstanding? The one thing I think about is that call. Jada says Chris, 58, called her afterward in 2016, and she thought they'd moved on. Jada also reveals in her book that Chris once asked her out on a date. Explaining more to people, she says, I think every summer all the reports would come out that me and Will were getting a divorce. And this particular summer, Chris, he thought that we were getting a divorce. So he called me and basically he was like, I'd love to take you out. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, aren't you and Will getting a divorce? I was like, no, Chris, these are just rumors. He was appalled and he profusely apologized, and that was that. A rep for Chris Rock did not respond to people's requests for comment. So there we have it, fellas. Another prominent influence over American black women has come out of the woodworks to further embarrass a good man. If anything, there's 3 major lessons you can take away from this Will Smith and Jada Pinkett marriage. Number 1, never put your woman on a pedestal.
40th birthday was gonna be my thing.
It was gonna be a splash.
It was gonna be a splash. Mary J. Blige performed. I debuted the film, all of that. It was gonna be the thing that lifted her out of this midlife crisis, and it was gonna be my deepest, most beautiful proclamation of love, and we did it. And I had found tapes of Jada's grandmother, and her grandmother had recorded these voice messages over the last 8 months of her life.
Wow.
And it was tapes that Jada had never heard.
Wow.
So Jada had to sit there and listen. I understand thoroughly now, at the time I didn't, but she's listening to these never before heard tapes of one of the dearest people she's ever known in her life, in front of all of these people. So she's holding it together, she's getting it together. Then I have Mary J. Blige performing. The whole time I'm like,
yeah.
The little boy that wants mommy to say everything was wonderful, right? And she's having a really difficult emotional time. And then when we got back to the room, it was me, you, and mommy, and we were talking about the next day, and there were things planned for the next day, and she said, I'm not sure I want to do anything the next day.
I just wanted to have intimate time.
Just intimate time. And I was like, well, I'll cancel tomorrow. She was like, it's my birthday, right? And she's told me that the party was the most ridiculous display of my ego.
Number 2, never marry a woman who was raised primarily by all women. If there's no man in her household, odds are she has no idea how to treat you.
You by leaving.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he told me at 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't be your father.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a criminal, I'm an addict, and that's just what it is.
Dang.
In a new episode of Red Table Talk, Jada's younger brother, Caleb, joins to talk about struggles they faced with their dad prior to his death in 2010.
We both had a lot
Absolutely.
of resentment.
Number 3, never take an overly promiscuous woman seriously. She thinks that sex solves everything, including her mental shortcomings. When she wants it, anyone near her can get it, and she could care less about how you feel about it.
And what happened?
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with August.
Talk, where she revealed her addiction to sex.
My sort of addictions jump. They jump around. When I was young, I definitely think I had a sex addiction of some kind. Yes, that everything could be fixed by sex.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or
It's the
thing.
behavior.
It's the behavior that's attached to it. Because if you want to have a lot of sex, that's great. But why are you having all that sex? That's what you got to look at. You know what I mean?
But what do I know? Look, whether you agree, you disagree, or you're indifferent, do me a favor. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to tap that notification bell and select all. For myself and the rest of the crew here at Trippin Aint Easy TV, peace out. Catch you on the next one.